DeMar DeRozan is what we as fans of the NBA call a throwback player. A master of the mid-range, DeRozan decided from a young age that he wanted to play exactly like his hero, Michael Jordan. And even with the trends to taking more three-pointers and the new presence of analytics in the game of basketball, DeRozan has never wavered on that want. His mind is made up. He wants to be a throwback player. Though a noble idea, sticking to your ideals and not faltering on them, DeRozan has been hit with heavy criticism for years now about his lack of three-point attempts, and for that, he has watched as his trade value has plummeted. Once a perennial all-star, DeRozan has seen his importance around the league steadily decline after being traded for Kawhi Leonard back in 2018, in a trade that will go down in history as one of the boldest moves a general manager has ever made.
I think we have a good game plan, and we'll see how that goes.
You see, back before 2018, DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry were not only partners on the court, they were best friends. Together, they pulled the Raptors franchise out from the depths of losing season after losing season and consistently putting together high win total seasons. In fact, the Raptors notched near 50-plus win seasons 5 times in a row during the DeRozan years, peaking in the 2017-2018 season when they won 59 games and DeRozan was an all-star. So what happened? Why did DeRozan get traded even though his team was succeeding at such a high level? Well, 2 words: LeBron James. The Toronto Raptors, though they were finishing in first place in the Eastern Conference standings, were never able to make it to the finals. In fact, they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals games 3 years in a row. LeBron James and the rest of the Cavaliers were just too good. Year after year, the Raptors came into the series thinking they had finally made the changes and gotten the players necessary to get past LeBron, and year after year, they failed. Personally, I just can't imagine how defeating this must have been for DeMar and the rest of the team. To know you are so good and so close, but to feel so far away when the man wearing 23 steps into the building. In the 2019 season, the offseason after LeBron marched in there without Kyrie Irving and swept the Raptors in dominating fashion, ending with DeRozan only scoring 13 points in the final Game 4, the Raptors underwent one of the most shocking and pivotal team shakeups in NBA history. Not only did the Raptors trade away their literal franchise savior, who was a bona fide superstar with multiple all-star appearances and who was the best friend of the team's other star player, Kyle Lowry, they also got rid of their head coach, who had just won Coach of the Year. The Raptors traded away their superstar, got rid of their coach, and then won the NBA championship. With the arrival of Kawhi Leonard and soon-to-be 2020 Coach of the Year Nick Nurse, the Toronto Raptors all but forgot about the days of DeMar DeRozan. He was now an afterthought, merely a stepping stone on the long road that brought their franchise from out of the shadows onto the pedestal of the NBA championship. DeRozan was a trade piece, an asset, but he was still an elite NBA player. On the Spurs, DeRozan picked up right where he left off, only this time out of the bright lights from a media perspective, as his team no longer was winning 50-plus games. Though he was brought to San Antonio in hopes of prolonging their sustained success as a franchise behind the Jedi Master-like guidance of Greg Popovich, the team around DeRozan just was not where it had to be in order to compete in a loaded Western Conference. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar's suspected running mate in the beginning of his time with the Spurs, was not what he used to be in his younger days, and he was just not capable of being that helping hand that DeMar needed. With his struggling team around him, DeRozan has been night after night met with all the focus from the other team's defense, as the lack of weapons around him allows for the opponents to divert all of their attention and game plan simply around stopping DeRozan. The mindset has been stop him and you can stop their team, and very few players can be successful in a situation like that. Even Steph Curry struggled with a similar situation against the Grizzlies in the play-in game. Alongside this unsustainable amount of defensive pressure and focus that DeMar is given every night, the Spurs also have DeRozan playing out of position compared to what he was playing in his prime with the Raptors. Though we hear a lot about so-called positionless basketball these days, there is still something to be said for a player, especially one with such a throwback game like DeRozan has, being in position. At 6'6", DeMar certainly is not the shortest guy on the court, but he isn't the biggest either. In Toronto, where DeRozan played shooting guard, he was more often than not matched up against players his size or smaller in both height and weight. This allowed DeRozan to get off his signature mid-range a lot smoother and easier than he has on the Spurs, where they have him playing small forward and sometimes power forward these days, making it tougher on him to play the style that he is so successful with. After 3 long years with the Spurs, I think the entirety of the basketball world knows it's time for Derozan to get back into the playoff race. He is finally a free agent, and with that can go to whatever team he pleases, and doing so making them automatically way more competitive. Before we get into what team Derozan should end up on, take a quick second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you always stay up to date on the latest of NBA news. We have a lot of great content coming, and with the NBA offseason and draft just getting going, you will not want to miss out on anything coming your way. Now back to Derozan. So what team is in DeMar DeRozan's future? Well, even though we aren't sure yet, there have been countless reports that DeRozan hopes to join his once arch-rival LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the Los Angeles Lakers. And while it is not for certain that he will end up there, one cannot help but to think of the endless possibilities that DeRozan would give to that offense. First things first, as we discussed earlier, DeRozan would be able to slide right back into his natural position at the 2 guard, with no issues in the Laker offense. Due to the size of the Laker team as a whole, DeRozan would likely be guarded by the 4th biggest player on the other team's starting lineup, as Drummond, Anthony Davis, and LeBron would all be a higher priority when it comes to matching them up size-wise. Because of this, DeRozan would instantly flourish in the Lakers' offense, returning to his Raptors days and rising up over the opposing defenders to put through his silky smooth mid-range pull-up. Even more, DeRozan would take some much-needed weight off of LeBron's shoulders by being another ball-handling and scoring presence on the court. This would allow the older LeBron to take more plays off and rest easy knowing that DeMar has got this. Another team I could see acquiring DeRozan in the offseason would be the Philadelphia 76ers. In the outcome that the Sixers are not able to move Ben Simmons for playmaking shot creator, it's not hard to imagine the Sixers opting to move Tobias Harris instead in order to get a guy like that. A guy like DeMar DeRozan. On the Sixers, DeMar would provide a similar type of game to what Jimmy Butler gave them just a couple of years ago, a scorer who can play solid defense and provide secondary playmaking when called upon. The Sixers struggled massively in late-game situations to create a shot, for they simply didn't have the guy to do that. With DeRozan, they wouldn't have to worry about that any longer. DeMar DeRozan is a special talent stuck in a bad situation, and seems to be the next player bound to make a massive leap when given the chance to truly compete. The man has paid his dues, and now deserves the chance to get back to the heat of the chase. So what do you think? Comment down below where you would like to see DeMar end up, and what do you think he'll bring to that squad? And remember,